Ćao svima i dobrodošli nazad na PlayCon 2023, tačnije PlayCon Winter 2023. Nalazite se na Gamescom festivalu. Treći dan Gamescona, drugi dan PlayCona. Matematika je vrlo jednostavna u ovom slučaju. Nastavljamo dalje sa programom. Tačno smo na pola, čini mi se, imat ćemo još, dakle, program će biti do 19 časova večeras, a sada smo sa mojom sljedećom gošćom i pretposlednjim gostom iz mog line-upa speakera. Nakon ovog imam još jedan, a zatim Stevan Rosić prelazi da razgovara sa još dva gosta u periodu od 17 do 18 i 18 do 19. I'm going to switch to English right now because we'll be talking to a person that comes from Mother Russia. She is currently here with us in Serbia and Belgrade, and her name is Katerina Habibuljina from Saber Interactive, everybody.
Ciao.
She said ciao. I think this highly encourages me to continue in Serbian, but we're not going to do that, huh?
Ne, hvala.
Ne, hvala. Not yet. Okay, super. So Katya is a very good example of someone who's been working as a manager for quite a while now. And she also comes from a company called Saber Interactive, and her position over there is associate producer. And we'll be talking about the management roles, why they are important, and to which extent should we invest our efforts to to actually be on good terms with them, and them with us, of course. So Katya, it would be good to start maybe to talk about managers and producers in general. Right now, you're working as an associate producer. In the past, you've also had the opportunity to work in these particular positions. As a matter of fact, you've been working as a manager for all your professional career. Even though you have studied, are you going to discover what exactly you've been studying?
Yeah, it's cultural studies, or how we call it, kulturologia in Russia. So basically, I am the scientist, some kind. So yeah, but I ended up as a manager in gaming industry.
So you've been working as a manager in the games industry ever since you started your professional career, right?
Actually, yes.
Yes.
Short.
So far it's been only games for you. Let's talk about producers and managers. So I guess my first question here would be, and maybe developers are going to relate with this, maybe artists as well, and who knows who more. Why do people, especially developers, sometimes fear or loathe? Is this microphone okay? It is, okay. Fear or loathe managers and producers. You know when people say, you know, it's my manager, it's the producer.
Yeah, definitely, yeah. I know that.
So what's the deal with this?
It seems to me that, first of all, the problem is not with just managers. The thing is that it comes to some professions which people experience by themselves, like teachers, for example. We went to school for like long period of our lives, and we think we know how to teach other people, you know?
Oh.
So it seems to me that because how we say it in science, the object and subject are the same. I mean, human being and human being, it's all the time there is a place for some judgmental problems and all that. So yeah, it seems to me that the key is here.
Oh.
So yeah, but the key to solve it is to understand each other more. But I think we will go deeper with further questions.
Right. So, but now that you've mentioned, you know, when you have a teacher and is it about questioning professional background? Is it about questioning what managers and producers are actually capable of? Maybe sometimes both of these categories don't have a very visible results to show for. So because developers, for example, they can create certain things in a matter of seconds or minutes, and while managers are slow burners in that regard, huh?
Yeah, definitely, you're right. And don't get me wrong, all people can behave not professionally and all that. I'm speaking about like good managers and good producers here. The thing is that yes, when we can see the real income, because our job is mostly some graphs, some Jira tickets, you know, and all that. So sometimes it's invisible job. So we're a bit of a warriors of invisible front, let's say. So yeah, that's why it's hard to evaluate our results sometimes.
That's a very interesting way to put it. You said invisible. What would you say is the thing we can see in managers and producers, and maybe better understand why they are there? What's the immediate result that they deliver? We can connect to what they do.
Actually, as one of my colleagues once said, manager is here to keep things going. This is our main role. And in my opinion, in my personal opinion, that you can see if the team is happy, a team is happy to achieve their goals. So this is our visible part of our job. And of course, the product as a result of our job.
But how often would it happen that a developer, as a reply to your statement right now, developers would probably say like, I can keep things going myself. Why would I need you to keep things going for me?
The difference here is just in the vision. And we have tools that allow us to see picture from a bigger perspective, from an upper point of view. It doesn't mean that we see something or we know something better than developers. It's just another level of planning. And we're here to help, we're here to support, and we're here to force sometimes and to achieve the final result. So yeah.
Right. So in that regard, do you think that especially the younger generation of either developers or generally speaking game development professionals have a negative sentiment towards the word manager, the word producer, the word anything related to organizational work? Do you think there's a negative sentiment attached to it?
I'm not sure about younger generation actually, and like, am I a younger generation or no?
Let's say you're in the cohort, yes.
Okay, so but have you ever heard this joke about parrot?
About a parrot?
Parrot who was taught to say, where is my task?
Where is my
Task.
Okay.
Ticket. And he was hired as a manager after that. So I saw the tons of that kind of jokes in the internet. But I mean, on the one hand, yeah, this is a specific part that you can see. And actually, like, sometimes it may hurt manager feelings. But yeah, so I think that the younger generation has exactly the same problems as people 20 years ago with any types of management.
Why do you think this happens? Is it something about the human nature that we don't really like to, subject ourselves to authority, or is there something else?
Speaking about even the good managers, our goal here also to, for example, to give a feedback, to make a review of like performance, let's say. Me personally, I don't like this term at all, but yeah, we have to check how different performers perform, and sometimes this feedback can hurt, and this is absolutely fine because it's our human nature to to be harmed sometimes or something like that. And anyway, it's not something very let's say it's not the pleasure, the super pleasure part of this job. To get some negative feedback, sometimes it's hard.
Yeah.
And that's why it can be the toughest part of that joke, it seems to me, in my opinion. This is the problem, because we can put on the table some problems that we have to solve together, and it's not all the time very pleasant thing to discuss, not the perfect thing to, let's say, to deal with, right?
Right.
So it seems to me this is the key.
So how do you, well, in your day-to-day job, how do you handle these, should I say, differences between how developers view managers and how managers view themselves? What would you say it's what's the pro tip for a manager to handle those situations that sometimes can come across as negative?
Okay, I can say only from my perspective and from my experience, but first of all, I would ask all managers and producers, first of all, to learn the subject, to learn the tool as far as it's possible, as far as you can, as far as you have a free time, to learn tools that your team works with, and try to understand, not to be afraid of asking questions, because no one can explain better than your team what your team needs, with which tools your team works. So listen, try to educate yourself in many ways as possible, and you also have to, let's say, develop your own, let's say, professional self-esteem and just personal self-esteem also. So this is a very long journey, and I'm still in this journey also.
Yes.
But this is my first tip. Try to learn, try to listen, try to understand. After that, try to pick up your team's need and try to combine them together with your product needs. And only in this way it can work. So it seems to me something like this.
That's a good set of tips for the time being, especially because, the circumstance in which I met Ekaterina was at Reboot Develop Blue 22.
Yes.
Because in 22 we had, Turn of...
23.
We had two, basically in the course of 6 months, if I remember correctly, 7 months. 22. Oh, sorry, September 22, and then April 23.
Something like that.
Yes, and I think you and I met in September 22.
Yeah.
Yes. So the circumstance where I met Katerina, I think we have a response here. It wasn't 22, right? It was 23. Got it. Thank you. Okay, it's actually crazy because in the course of less than 6 or 7 months, we had two reboots, and no one knows when was each and every one of them. So anyway, when I met Katerina, she was very, friendly, very kind of very interested in talking to other people. And among other things that you've just mentioned as for tips for young managers, I also wonder, does it take managers to be also a very outgoing people, a very outgoing kind of people? Is it a requirement for a manager to be very extroverted in that regard? Because knowing you, that kind of fits that profile.
Actually, to be completely honest, I'm not that extroverted that I may seem, because sometimes I really enjoy spending time alone with games, with something like this. So I think the most important part here is not being extroverted or introverted. It's just, as I said, try to listen and understand. And no matter how you will do that, team will appreciate it, even if you just be yourself. Like, it sounds so like old-fashioned maybe and funny, but yeah, be yourself. And as I said, to be okay with who you are is the key to understand others people's needs. So yeah, so if you are introverted, it's also fine, because you have maybe some introverted people in your team, and it will be easier for you to understand them also. So I'm not sure that it's a requirement, because yeah, the requirement is to be good at communication, whatever it means.
Okay, so far in your day-to-day job, would you say you've been working with predominantly introverted or extroverted people?
Oh, it's time to say hi to my lovely team, right? So hi, my team. This is actually a bit of a hard question now. It seems to me that all of them are unique in their own way.
Right.
And I can just say that they are like more introverted or extroverted, because some of them can be very brilliant in some specific meetings. Some of them can be very funny and extroverted with people with whom they're comfortable with. So they're very different. And this is the most interesting part, that all of these people are so different, but all of them are very unique in their own way, and that's what I love in my job the most.
So okay, so before we continue, a quick question for everybody. Can you hear us well? Yeah, it's a little loud in the venue, so okay. There's more madness going on at the main stage, so all right. So are there any future managers in the audience? Right now there are none. Okay, but let's say they're here. Let's talk more about some tips and insights for future managers in terms of what to do depending on the scale of the team you've been assigned to. I'm not exactly sure that, about how big were the teams you've been dealing with in your career, but maybe we can start with what would be the sweet spot. What's the most comfortable number of people within a team that you've been working with?
Okay, so I'm so hard to make interview with me probably, because I don't have any specific answer here. The thing is that everything is so unique in their own way. But let's say, because both has their, let's say, pros and cons, the good thing work with the small team is that this is you knows everybody's needs, and you learn very fast, and you learn everybody's needs really quickly, and you can understand who is good with what and what kind of communication they have in this small group. So it can be comfortable from time to time, but big team also has more and more, let's say, opportunities to learn more about people, to help them to communicate and all that. So it really depends on, but let's say, I don't know, this is just my personal opinion here, that for the junior manager, let's say, maybe, I'm not sure, but for me it was like that, it's a bit easier to work with the smaller team and then to go to bigger and bigger team in the future, because you can try something, you can feel more, let's say, not confident but less stressed when you have not that big amount of people around you. So yeah, this is my personal opinion that it's easier to start with smaller teams. But again, who is this team? Is that small experienced team, or is this a small team of juniors, for example? So it's also like very. It can be very.
Yes, and I guess in this circumstance, a better question would be, what is the difference between working with as an executive producer with an outsourced team, because you've had this kind of experience as well. So let's talk about how it is to manage an outsourced team versus the first party development team.
So as an outsourced producer, especially my outsourced studio, it was art studio. So we made graphics and any types for game developers. The thing is that as a producer, you all the time part of other company team, but at the same time, you have your own team who has your own needs. So this is a bit of a difficult level to it's some kind of Dark Souls level to enter the gaming industry, because and at the same time you have like several projects in parallel. So it's a bit of you have to know how to manage, how to navigate through all that. But at the same time you have to still be in the perfect situation. You still have to be passionate about what your client needs, what your client's doing. And but this is let's say the most interesting part. And the advantage of working as an outsourced producer is that you can learn really quick. Like you can learn so many stuff about different genres, about different engines, about how graphics and like how team functions in the team. But on the other hand is that you have very small sprints, let's say, for example, from 1 week to 2 months, and that's it. So even if this client is long-term client, this is not like being a part of the whole development team. It's a completely different story. So yeah, this is a kind of like being involved in tons of projects and being passionate about all of them. This is the most interesting part. The hard part is that you never be mentioned in any credits at the end. Yes.
Oh, so in your experience, this is what happened. You've been working on so many projects in your career, but so far you haven't been really signed in any credits?
Yeah, let's say our client, I mean, it's absolutely fine because we worked under NDA and it's how it's functioned. Like,
yes.
I have to grow up at some point and stop dreaming about being famous. But yeah, at some point it can be a bit exhausted, let's say, because you have all this connection with your client and you're both like very passionate about each other's work, and this is like gone on, and like it's very nice experience. But then at the end, you can't be mentioned, unfortunately, in the credits because you're outsourced studio. So yeah, this is the sad part.
Yeah,
but it's fine.
And just the other minute, you've also mentioned when you work in an outsourcing team, you need to be passionate for your team, your in-house team, and as well for the IP you're developing in the team over there. Is it really necessary to be passionate towards it, or is it something you wish to believe while working on it?
Actually, my case, sometimes it's not appropriate to speak about not very good experience, let's say. I wouldn't recommend people to be that passionate because you can burn out really quickly.
Yes.
But for me personally, it was very important because I wanted to learn more as much as I can, because for me it was the only one key to success. Because all the time I treat my team and my team's problems as my own. And for example, when client or stakeholders have some questions to my team, I usually questioned myself first than someone who made a mistake, So yeah, to be too passionate, it's not super good advice. But for me personally, it was the key to keep working and keep doing things right.
Right. So it's not really about being strictly passionate about something. It's about doing your job, being professional, and just getting the job done. Right.
Definitely. You know what's funny? And like a couple of days ago, I had this very nice conversation with my ex-boss, and we talked about our this thing that happened to us and all that. And she told me probably if you would go back now, you wouldn't be that that's let's say passionate, you wouldn't spend that much time on projects and all that, and she was absolutely right on that. So yeah, now I would love to set a bit of boundaries to be more like to care a bit more because you know, mommy is happy, family is happy. So
I understand. Yes. All right. So far, do we perhaps have any questions for Katerina? For Katerina, here we go. Just watch for the feedback. There we go.
Hello. How do you balance in your work the level of transparency you have with your team? Because I know when you're like too transparent and give them too much information, they start worrying about things that are your job to handle, and they shouldn't like waste headspace on that. But if you don't give them enough information, sometimes they feel like you're being hostile, like you're hiding something from them, and they're not. I don't know, like there is some nefarious reason they are not getting what they want or something like that.
Oh, sure.
So how do you balance those two things?
this is very good question. Thank you so much. So what I want to say now, in my current job, we have such a great pipelines for everything that I don't have to worry about that at all, you know. So I'm happy, I'm blessed. But as at my previous job as an executive producer in outsourced studio, this was the main question that we have with my stakeholders. Actually, how many information I can get to people for them to be enough informed but not to worry about it. The thing is that me and my ex-stakeholders, we went a bit of extreme way, let's say, because we were completely honest with our team, with everything what's going on. So I think the only key to success here is just to know your team well and to learn more about them if they are ready to, like, if this information is like something that you can deal with alone, or this is something that they have to know, you know. So this is like, again, like no direct answers, just know your team, know yourself, and that's it.
Thank you. Is the answer satisfactory? It is? Okay, thank you. Perhaps more questions for Ekaterina right now? We good? It's it's a fantastic question because it comes directly from game development, and I guess if there were more developers in the audience, we would receive much more questions like these because it's a day-to-day thing that people need to worry about. How do you handle, for example, all right, so you're a new manager at the company, okay? So people are very used to the previous either associate or executive producer, okay? So you need to integrate into the society, a new kind of society that you've been assigned to, right? How do you become, as a regular or as supportive as the previous manager was, hopefully?
Oh, I'm still trying, to be honest.
Okay.
New position, I'm still trying. Actually, I mean, the thing is, as I said, nothing new here. Learn, try to hear it, like try to listen, ask. Don't be afraid to ask people what they really need. And the thing is not just be like nice or like kind, just that, you know. The thing is to be, first of all, professional and to really understand what your team needs. And like, you know, for example, as with the students, a teacher, like students can feel if teachers loves them, you know. Even if this teacher is a bit like tough sometimes, gives some hard exercise or something like that, when it comes with, I'm sorry for like sound a bit romantic or something, but when it comes with love to what you do, when it comes with love to people to work with, it's all the time will be a successful situation because they will tell you, if they trust you, they will tell you, you know, we're not so much comfortable with you, I don't know, doing this, that, and those, right? And you can fix it easily. So be open, but yeah, at the same time, try to listen more, and I think it will work.
Got it. Okay. Maybe more questions for the audience right now? Okay. That leaves more questions for me. Thank you. Let's talk a little about spicy stuff. Spicy stuff meaning, how do you resolve conflicting situations of conflict, of aggravation? So there's a turmoil within the team based on something, all right? So how do you, as a manager, try to handle the situation and lead it towards the best possible outcome?
Oh, okay.
It really depends on the
I feel
context,
like
sure.
I'm an interview, to be honest. So, I mean, not that interview. I mean, job interview.
Job interview, yes.
Yeah, yeah.
Okay. Tell us something about yourself.
Who will be whom I see myself in 5 years, right? So actually, it really depends on, because like one conflicting situation is not the same as another. They can be very different, and at my current position, I didn't have, let's say, enough time or maybe I just have the best team in the world now, but I never was still involved in any of that kind of situations. So, and actually, I don't know how that happened, but somehow, for the whole of my career, I just had such a slight conflicting situation that I can't even consider them as conflicting.
Yeah.
But sometimes you just, first of all, if you have two sides in this conflict, you have to hear both and then try to be, again, like a bit above this thing and to see what people really need. For example, I don't know, if someone is being upset that, I don't know, he's less appreciated than another one, just try to see what this person needs and give it to them, if it's possible. So I think the communication is the key. To communicate is the only key here. So no specific tips again.
It basically always comes down to communication, but it's the nuance that really does the trick with many people, because I guess many people can really declare themselves as managers, but then again, who actually does a good job is a whole different can of worms, right? But all right, so right now you're living in Belgrade, you're working from Belgrade, is that correct?
Yeah, definitely.
Meaning that you are remotely working for your company, is that correct?
Actually, yes, but yeah.
Actually, yes.
Yeah.
Right. So, what would you say are the main caveats of working remotely as a manager with your team?
So, first of all, you can have more people at, like, you can not have more people at one day, I mean, corresponding to you or texting to you. For me, the thing is that I'm a child of pandemic, so I never worked in office.
Okay.
This is the thing, you know. So because when I graduated from university, my graduation was online already, and I started to work remotely when my first company already had an experience working remotely. So basically, I just don't know how to answer this question because I worked remotely all the time.
Right.
So I can't compare, you know, this.
How do you think situation would change if you were to go on site like in a month?
In a month to office, you mean?
Sure.
In a month to office. Sounds exciting.
Sure, here in Belgrade, for example.
Yeah, why not? I mean, first of all, it seems to me, but I'm not sure because I didn't have that experience before. Maybe it will be a bit faster to learn your team's type, personalities, to see what your teams really like and all that, to chat more and non-working related topics or something like that, to go for a coffee outside together. It's also a part of a, let's say, that kind of, you know, tradition to go for lunches together. So maybe in office it will be faster. I mean, to make this connection.
Yeah. Thank you. Okay. So, are there many? Are there more questions from the audience from Ekaterina? Here we have Boža. So, we need the audience mic, please.
Oh, yeah, there we go. Hi. I was wondering if you're managing a team and if you form some kind of closer relationships with your like employees, like you become friends, like you said, you come to the office, you get to meet them better. What's your approach to your job when you're like trying to manage your friends, if you know what I mean? Are you sometimes afraid if they're gonna take it too personally, like, oh, we're friends, like, why are you like that? You know what I mean?
Yeah, very nice question actually. But as I said first, when you work at your personality, when you work with yourself, you know the boundary very well. And it comes with the experience, it comes with the self-development, let's say, when you can be very clear with the boundaries that you have. what is allowed with you, between you and your friends as a friends, and what is not allowed when you're in a position and manager and a performer, for example. But of course, all of us human beings, so that's why sometimes I'm even afraid to, it could be not my friend, but I could be like, I could afraid to hurt someone's feeling or something like that. But again, all the time, if you're afraid to hurt someone's feeling, just go to this person and say, hey, listen, I said this yesterday, like, what do you think about that? Was it okay or no? Please tell me, and all that. But to do that, you have to really understand why you're doing that. For example, I'm afraid to hurt someone's feelings because, like, this is how I am, since childhood. But I'm not a saint or anything, and I can make some stupid joke, or I can say something that I wasn't meant to say, or something like that. That's why it's better to clarify. And if you're not sure, if you, for example, you have a friend and you're a manager, and you see that your friend maybe doesn't take you really seriously or something like that, just you can be open about that, and you can say, hey, listen, I love you with all my heart, and I love how we spend time when we are friends, but please, at work, I'm not Katya, I am Yekaterina, and please respect me, help me, and all that. So I think, again, the communication is the key. This is like a title of our today's interview, probably.
Got it.
Very much.
So you've been talking about tips for young managers, but as communication is key, what exactly within the field of communication would you say is the absolute paramount in developing good interpersonal relationships within a team? I know that things are very relative. It depends on who you're talking to, of course. But if we're talking about the way you express your thoughts, is it about the language? Is it about being precise? Is it about being on time? Is it about writing or saying it out loud? What would you say is the absolute paramount communicational device that improves interpersonal relationships in a team?
Okay, so if we're talking about just work-related communication, about when you have to explain some task or something like that, be sure that when you read your own message, you can understand that. It may sound very funny, but believe me, I still do this at my job, because if I can understand step by step what I wrote, probably the person will understand. And also, you can address the question please, can you tell me how did you understand what I said, or something like that, But yeah, this is just it may sound very easy, but this is something that has to be done at work. Another thing is more about, let's say, romantic stuff. When you working at your self-esteem, another part of your personality, and you can respect yourself and your own boundaries, you started to respect our people's boundaries more, and then you started to feel them better. I mean, in sense of you started to understand them better. You started to understand their needs better. And then you will see how to, maybe with someone you can make some meme, for example, I don't know, about some task, and it will be appropriate. But with someone, it will be more comfortable just to, to have this very, let's say, legal language, So to feel other people, to feel their needs, it's also important.
Yes, it doesn't sound like it's for everybody. You need to really have a high level of empathy built inside of you so that you can actually feel out things before even they happen, before anybody speaks. I guess sometimes in teams, people don't really feel confident or secure enough to go ahead and say what they really think or what they want. So I guess that in that regard, what you just said is actually paramount. Having the ability to actually understand and read between the lines, maybe oftentimes. But okay, so here's a more technical question, and I don't think this is something that's worth of much of discussion, but people like to ask this question. What are the tools a typical manager should be not just aware of, but very versatile in?
Oh, about tools. So we have plenty of them. Some of them are more for time management, for self-management, because it's very important in our job to be self-managed. And another tools that your company use for just time tracking, for managing tasks and all that. So basically it's what Jira, Trello, Notion, whatever, any software. But when you started to understand at least one of this type of software, this is enough to learn more, actually. So another thing for self-management, like it also depends what you used to use. And some of like very experienced manager then can use even just notes in iPhone, and like there is no any secret tools here. Some of them can use even databases like Notion and Ctable and other stuff, where you can range your priorities. And like, yeah, priorities, that's the first thing that you have to think of when it comes to self-management. And yeah, so if you want me to name all software that I used, I can do that.
No need to list all, of course. Sometimes people love to get stuck on the question, what software, what solution are we going to use? Sometimes I personally fail to understand people who love Jira. I think Jira is the ugliest thing out there. But on the other hand, there are things that it does very well. And it's very good and very scalable for large corporations, especially when you have a bunch of people involved in the process. But then on the other hand, we have solutions that are more like user-friendly. We saw Trello, we saw Asana, we saw Hack and Plan, things developed for game developers and so on and so forth. But I personally, this is just not a question, but rather a notion. I don't think it makes much sense to spend time on deciding which tool exactly does the trick. For myself, it's literally Notepad and Google Sheets. And especially with
yes.
Right?
Yeah, definitely.
And with the expandability of Google Sheets, you can also basically just connect all the Google apps, and things can work out perfectly well. So, Jira or Trello or something else is just a question that probably spends more time than it actually does anything in particular. Do we have more questions from the audience maybe right now? Okay, there's Boža.
Yeah, I was wondering, for example, you're managing a team, and as a manager, you're having a problem with one of your employees. And you're trying to solve the problem. You're tried like several different ways, and it's not going well. And you have to change your approach. You have to be a bit harsh with this person. What is your approach in terms of taking that step, but that approach is kind of conflicting with your personality, if you know what I mean? Like, you're not used to, you don't want to resort to doing that. It's kind of, you don't want to be not yourself, How do you handle those situations, if you had any?
Yeah, also very good question, and it's also more related to my previous position that I have now, because it was a bit higher and all that. The thing is that you don't have to change yourself to be more precise about some things, and even to change approach doesn't mean to be someone else. You don't have to pretend that you're like what's her name, the boss from Devil Wears Prada, Miranda Priestley, if someone here watched that. So yeah, you don't have to pretend that you're Miranda Priestley or someone else. You can still use your own language, because me personally, I'm also not that like harsh boss who can go and like say like I'm bad. Like my dream job is just that I say hi to everybody, very friendly and all that. But sometimes yes, it requires hard decisions and all that. So, but you can use your own language, and you can even you can even say that, listen, for me, this is very hard to talk about, because it's not in my core to make that kind of decisions. But this is necessary for this, that, and that. That's why I want to discuss this, that, and that. So, like, you can still be yourself, let's say, right? But you can, like, just try to explain how it really is.
Thank you. Any more questions for Katerina right now? Okay, we're a couple of minutes away from ending our session, so I guess I'll just switch to a much softer topic right now. The question of games you love. You've mentioned Dark Souls. Have you mentioned Dark Souls in the context of doing something the hard way, or because you're actually the Dark Souls or Souls-like aficionada?
Unfortunately, I played only in Elden Rings.
You did what, sorry?
Elden Rings.
Elden Ring, okay.
Yeah, but I really enjoyed this game. The environment there is perfect. I love it so much. And it reminds me of that games that I played with my elder brother And this was a Sega games like Contra Hard Corps, if you know this game.
Okay.
And all that kind of Dune, for example, the old strategy game. You know that game?
The old strategy game?
Dune.
Oh, the Dune. Sure,
yeah.
yes.
So like I really enjoyed that kind of experience when you have to really you have to try really hard to reach some goal in the game. So that's what I missed a bit from nowadays games, let's say. But I also a big sim fan.
Sim fan.
Yeah, I'm like a big fan. I love to build buildings and that kind of games and all that. So, and the last game that I played is probably was the Cyberpunk. It was Cyberpunk, and yeah, and I'm a bit slow in sense of trends, but I really like it. So let's say, yeah, but also I love old games a lot.
So would Cyberpunk be your game of 2023?
Can I just not answer this question? No, actually, I appreciate the work that the team made. And this is, let's say, professional deformation when you can't judge games anymore at all. Because it's so easy to judge games when you're outside the industry. You know, like, oh, developer did this wrong and they did this wrong. But now I can't because I know what kind of, like, what time they have, what kind of problems that they might face. So, but in general, the environment, the feeling that you got from this game is brilliant.
Awesome. Sounds super. Okay, everybody else, last chance for your questions for Ekaterina. Going once, twice, thrice. All right, then everybody. So that would be everything for our session. Thank you so much, Ekaterina.
Hvala puno.
Ekaterina Habibuljina, everybody. Thank you, Ekaterina. So we're continuing with our sessions. Stay with us and see you soon.